Everyone, meet Lorna. Lorna is a 1982 C3 Corvette that is mostly original. Here comes my helper. That's Gracie. There's a fly in here. She's after it. Mostly original. I bought her in 2021 from the original owner. He bought it at a dealership down here in the Phoenix area when it was new for his wife, who passed away at the end of 20 or beginning of 21, and that's why he was selling it. Now, as far as I can tell, she was built in July of 82, so toward the very tail end, was built as a completely stock base model 82 Corvette with no bells and whistles. The only added option was an upgraded stereo, and it was not the ETR one. It was the one slightly above the whatever the base was at that time. The dealership took care of doing custom paint and changing out and putting Western wheels on. And Dick, the original owner, said he would buy it if they took the original fiberglass tops and replace them with the glass ones. And off he went. I haven't done any modifications really. The only thing that I did, and I'll insert some pictures here, there was a rigged speaker box in the back that I've taken out and put speakers back where they're supposed to be. Gracie's getting into something. Hold on. All right. I don't know what I was saying. I replaced the speakers and put new speakers in the back where they are supposed to be. Of course, you can't buy carpet just to cover the speakers. You have to get the whole kit, which we'll do eventually. What else? Everything else has been kind of just cleaned a little bit. I put one of those stereos in that looks like an old stereo and replaced the one that was in there. Cleaned stuff up behind the dash. I've replaced quite a few parts, made things come back to original. Love tinkering around on stuff, but I'm not a mechanic. So everything I've learned in doing with Lorna, which has been an interesting run. And when I go to car shows, I am jealous of the same era cars that have a lot more space to work at. Things aren't engineered into place. In July of 20, no, not July of 22, in March of 22, we were in an accident. We were sitting at a light and someone came up behind us, never hit their brakes, in a Cadillac Escalade and rear-ended us. And she held up really well, but when asking for suggestions and recommendations on where to take her to get repaired, I had multiple people say the same place, so that's where I took it. Should have really paid attention to the reviews because didn't do anything. I mean, he did all right, but he didn't do anything that I got charged for him doing. And we'll get in more into that later. So this supposedly was replaced, but it wasn't. And then painted and some other stuff taken care of. So that's that. When I finally got it back months later, I noticed that one of the calipers had gone out, which is very common on these. So we got that replaced. And then I noticed a slow leak from the radiator. So that was a project that I learned how to do and replace the radiator. And then since then, I thought while I was doing that, I replaced the hoses, which is always a great idea. But I also naively thought, oh, good time to replace the temperature sensor and the coolant sensor for the computer. neither worked successfully. So luckily I just put the old ones back in, which that's the first video after this one, is replacing that coolant sensor for the computer. Other than that, everything has been cleaned up pretty well. A couple of pieces swapped out for chrome oil cap, cleaned that. The radiator, of course, is aluminum 4-core. And we continue going. And I realized earlier that as much as we used to drive around all the time, since the accident and getting the car back, I live in the Phoenix area, so it is too hot in the summer, and the air conditioning, although it works, is not charged. I've had a couple of people look at it. I had one guy that had some R12 that tried to charge it and it would not take a charge, so he suggested I go somewhere else, which I did. He took a look and said it is so full of dye and oil is why it won't take a charge, and he needed to be able to get a couple of things so he could empty the system out completely and then recharge it, but never got back in touch with me, and I just kind of let that go because then we had the accident and all that stuff. So no air conditioning. But what I was saying is, since the accident, have not really gotten to drive it a whole lot. I think in the back of my head, I'm worried I'm going to get hit again, which was not a fun experience at all. And just worried something else is going to go wrong as I'm driving, but I need to get over that. So this is it. Very unique paint job, as you can see that the dealer did. The white is still original. The hood was repainted at some point by the previous owner. And I can tell, although no accident on report, I can tell that the front bumper was replaced at some point. The grill down here I don't know if we'll be able to see it or not, but is cracked behind there, behind the light here. And the license plate holes are not where they should be, and they are crooked, but not a big deal. Other than that, trying to get things cleaned up and just want to be able to drive a little bit. The air pump is still on, but he had removed the belt, so it's never had a belt on it since I've owned it. Alternator, I can tell, has been replaced, and there's been a lot of rodent activity in here from where he lived before. So I can tell there's been a lot of wires that have been redone, so a change out of the wiring harnesses is going to come at some point in the future. But all cleaned up. There's the glove box shell has got a hole in it from a rodent eating through it, and they don't make those anymore. But I found someone online that was getting rid of them because they did vintage air and it requires a more shallow one. So I got that. That'll be something coming up in another video. What else has been done? Well, this is kind of a bane of my existence, but I'll figure it out. I replaced the weather stripping here on the A pillar, and I tried to replace these, and I stupidly, with a lot of other things, threw out the originals to see how they were. They seem to have lined up, but they don't line up exactly, and so the windows are catching on this. So I bought some other ones. We'll do that again as well. I've got the rubber to replace these, but I haven't done it yet. I also need to replace these because I noticed one time when I was taking the T-top off recently, this whole thing kind of popped out. So I took this off. I broke the wire, but I've got new ones that I've ordered, so we need to replace those. Need to replace all the other rubber on here as well. Most of the hoses, vacuum lines have been replaced since I bought it. The hood insulation I have taken off because it was kind of flapping around anyway, and I just need to get that cleaned up a little bit to get new ones put on, which I already have. And what else? We've replaced these. We did the only thing that was wrong with her when I got her is a small transmission leak, which has yet to go away, even though I've drained the fluid, changed the filter, changed the gasket. I've changed the valve cover gaskets because there was a small leak there. Power steering, I had to replace the ram, and even the new one leaks, which from reading other stuff, that is common. So I'll just have to deal with it until I get the Borgson upgrade. What else have I done on this besides cleaning? Lots of things to come. I think that's it. Look forward to creating content mostly for, although I can find stuff that I'm looking for a lot of times, they always edit out or don't record the things that I actually wanted to see. So that was my intent in creating this channel, to be able to see different things and record them in their entirety, not edit it out or do it off camera. I think we've cleaned the wheels up. We've cleaned most of the stuff that we've done has been cleaning, replacing or reworking stuff from the guy that supposedly repaired everything from the accident. Oh, I did change out these to chrome from the original black plastic. The 82 had black trim around the windshield there, on the rear. Most of the paint's worn off on here already. It's still there in a couple spots, so I need to get this off and get it off because I do like the chrome. I stripped all the paint off of the windshield trim and the A-pillars as well when I had those off. I think the carpet's been replaced at some point, or at least parts of it have, but I don't know that for sure because you can see this is a different color than this. I replaced the frame on this because it was cracked. I got a T-top strap, but they don't make them in blue anymore. It's either black or gray or collector edition. So I had to get a black one. They don't have any blue, but that's fine. It holds them back there when I have them back there if I need to. Added the armrest there. What else? Cleaned up, replaced the bezels on the tack and speedometer. I replaced the plastic glass on all of the gauges. The clock still works. I've got a kill switch back here because if I don't, I know the clock is part of it, right, running all the time, but if I don't start it every couple of days, the battery is dead. So I installed that pretty quickly afterwards so that we don't have to worry about that. I've replaced the door handles, those, because the old ones were just kind of faded. Lots of other things that I want to do. I've got boxes of stuff over there in lists of projects to do, but every time I want to do something like that, something else more urgent comes up that we have to do. All right, that truly is it for now. We'll be back again soon.